This is a very sad story, but the whole world is watching. Now, for those of you who are not aware, there is a company out there where you can pay to go in a submarine and then you can go down to the Titanic, which is already a very dangerous mission. We'll get to that in a second, but they are missing. There are 5 aboard who are missing. We are on day 3, and the issue is you can't necessarily see the people if they are underwater. You have to listen for the submarine, which is a very complicated task. Now let's go ahead and get into this story and see exactly what's going on. Here's a video from Reuters, and then after this, we'll see what the Coast Guard is saying and doing.
The submersible was in mid-dive when they lost communications. So if there was any sort of emergency, they would have probably just dropped their weights, and this buoyancy would brought them back up to the surface. But of course, with no communications, then it's difficult to locate where they are. It's very unlikely it's somewhere in the water column. It's either on the top or on the bottom. If it's on the bottom, much more difficult to locate it. Don't know what the topology is like, whether it's smooth or it's rough. It could be in humps or hollows. And there's all the other wreckage from the Titanic around there as well, which will send back signals. So it won't be so much.
So again, essentially what he's talking about is, first off, both cases are worst case scenario because, again, we don't have any communication with the submarine, so you have to assume something bad happened. Now, a better case scenario is this submarine is on the surface, which, again, he is saying probably not likely because we would have found them by now. Being at the bottom of the sea, you can only use sonar to find these people and the submarine. The issue is the spread and the pattern of the Titanic is massive. Again, the Titanic was a massive ship. So even, let's just say theoretically, they made it to the Titanic and it's near the Titanic, sonar is almost not going to be able to pick up the pattern or the picture of the submerged submarine all the way down at the bottom of the sea. And again, we'll get into that, but I'm just trying to put it into simple terms for you guys.
Much a case of looking for it. If it's at the bottom, it'll be a case of listening for it. If it's on the bottom, the next challenge is how do you get them up? You're not going to be able to transfer them onto another vessel at depth. You're going to have to bring the whole submersible up and then take them off. You get some sort of robot vessel down there to attach something to them to help bring it up and then extract them. That's all going to take a lot of time.
Which again, worst case scenario, at the bottom of the sea, even if we find them, trying to get the submarine from the bottom up is going to be a logistical challenge. Because if you are not aware, the fact that we even found the Titanic is like a miracle in itself. Now actually getting to the Titanic, again, it takes 2 hours to get to the Titanic just trying to get down there. Quick history lesson because I know we tend to forget these things. Remember, the Titanic split in half. I mean, in the iconic scene in the movie Titanic, the boat went up in the air, split in half. But again, underwater, when you're using sonar to pick up the pattern of what's going on underwater and trying to create this picture, we don't know if the tourists are on one side or the other where the split happened between the Titanic. We have no way of knowing. And regardless of that, there are also big pieces of the Titanic that are actually disintegrating and falling apart from the Titanic. There's a debris field around the Titanic. So again, this is a very difficult task for sonar to try penetrating all the way down to the Titanic and making sure we are finding an accurate picture. Because if we just start sending people all the way down to the Titanic, it's not that easy. First off, you need permits. Second off, it's very difficult because it takes a lot of time to get down there and a lot of resources. And here's a little close-up of the debris field around the Titanic. Again, this is literally scattered throughout the Titanic, and sonar is picking it up. Obviously, it's not picking it up with a massive signature, but yet again, it is interfering with sonar when you are trying to find the people in the submarine. Now, here's what the Coast Guard is saying, and at least what they are trying to do. U.S. Coast Guard Rear Admiral John McGuire in a television interview on Tuesday said, rescuers continued their efforts overnight and were expanding their search into deeper waters, which is, again, very difficult task. Authorities were prioritizing the area where the vessel was operating. As we continue with this search, we've been working through the night with a broad group of partners to bring all capabilities to bear, looking on both the surface and now expanding to the subsurface in that area. Now, we can only assume that these third parties are going to be other private submarine companies or other private, shipping companies who look for treasure at the bottom of the sea. I'm sure a lot of people are all coming together because this community is very small, most likely. And usually when you have a small, tight-knit community, especially people who are really into the Titanic, and I would suggest a lot of you look into the Titanic organization and the history behind it, because the story still continues. There's still some mystery behind the Titanic, and there's still people who have dedicated their life going down to the Titanic and seeing what's going on. There are generational family members who want to see the Titanic and see what their family went through and what the experience was like on the Titanic. So that's why this is also a big story, regardless of the movie Titanic, regardless of the Titanic was the biggest ship ever. It's a lot deeper than that, and I think that's why this is also a really big story, because these people just wanted to experience history and go and see the Titanic, and unfortunately it ended in a very bad way. So I'm going to try sticking with the story. Hopefully they do find them. Hopefully we do get some better news, but stick with me. Please subscribe, please like, and we'll see you later.